Welcome to Don't Do Disney
Without Us.
My name is Daniel.
And my name is Zach.
Wow, you're hot. It's all right. I gotta
thank you.
No, I mean, I gotta hear your sound. There's a little show that we like to do about all things Disney, including the theme parks, the streaming services, the movies.
Everything but the sports.
Everything but the sports, because we're just not very sporty people. Not that you would know that by looking at our Fitbits over our last trip. Anyway.
What Fitbit?
Anyway, welcome back to the show. We have a lot to talk about because we, as you may have noticed, took last week off because we were out in Disneyland. So Anaheim, California, out doing our little birthday trip to Disneyland.
Well, not our little birthday trip, your birthday trip, because my birthday is not for another month and a half or so.
Okay. But regardless, this is all part of our master plan of going to every Disney theme park on the planet over the next several years. So we decided to start
with the easiest one to get to.
Well, the easiest one to get to is for us to drive an hour up the street to go to Walt Disney World. But
the easiest one that isn't in Florida.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, so yeah, we went to Disneyland. We have not been to Disneyland since
2017.
2017. So that was quite a while. And the few times that I had been to Disneyland in the past was always during the holiday season. So the Haunted Mansion overlay was there. And so this was just a chance to, set a baseline, see the original park, and kind of get a handle on what's going on there. So let's talk a little bit about our trip. The very first thing we did when we got there, as you'll remember from the last episode, we only got a single day park pass for the 2 days that we were going to go to parks, even though we were there for 3 or 4 days. So the first day when we got there, after we checked in, we headed over to downtown Disney to check out the area that they have down there. How do you feel that downtown Disney compared to Disney Springs?
I don't know that that's really a fair comparison, just because downtown Disney and the Disneyland Resort as a whole are immensely smaller than the entirety of the Walt Disney World Resort, to include Disney Springs. Yes. For what it is, which is basically a downsized version of Disney Springs, it's fine. There's shopping, dining.
Okay.
Things to do. We
had a great burger. I forget the name of the place.
The Black Tap, I believe.
Yeah, the Black Tap Burger. Had a great burger there. It was delicious. I didn't see like a whole lot of I feel like when I think of Disney Springs, I think 12 or 14 restaurants. Everything from upper high end Wolfgang Puck, upstairs seating to the Earl of Sandwich. There's a lot of food.
I feel like there's a lot more than 12 or 14 restaurants at Disney Springs.
Okay. But it depends on whether you're counting restaurants or food carts, right? Or little sweet shops. So, it depends on what you classify as a restaurant. Right. But yeah, there's a lot, but there's not obviously as many at downtown Disney. It's a much smaller footprint there. And for those of you who follow us on TikTok, if you don't, what's our TikTok? At WDW Aristocrats on TikTok. Yeah. If you follow us on TikTok, you'll see that we found some suspicious merchandise all around downtown Disney, which was the Orange Bird merchandise, Remy's Ratatouille adventure merchandise.
And some Mexico Pavilion merchandise.
Yeah, literally says Epcot, Mexico on it with Minnie Mouse. So it's like, hey, you guys don't have these things here. The other thing that we found to be really weird is their choice of music.
So we're walking to one of the merchandise stores, and they have various Disney music loops playing. And one of the first things we hear is the original version from 83?
From Journey into Imagination.
The original version of One Little Spark.
Yes. Sung by Dreamfinder.
With Dreamfinder.
Yeah, sung by Dreamfinder. Yes.
Who isn't there anymore.
It's not even a character anymore. Yeah, they had that. They also played It's Tough to Be a Bug, which is no longer there. What was it? The Main Street Electrical Parade, which is no longer there. There's they were just hitting up all the hits of songs that they no longer had, I guess.
Well, they just had the Main Street Electrical Parade back in the fall.
We'll give them one. But it was just really weird that we had, a lot of music playing there.
Not really complaining, just a little jarring to see merchandise and hear things from parks that are all the way across the country, which, there are folks who can't get to those parks.
Yeah, but still, be proud of who you are, Disneyland. Be proud of who you're enough. Gosh darn it, you don't need to be us. You're enough just the way you are. The other thing that we did was we went to the Grand Californian Hotel. That's hard to say.
Yes.
Because through some freak of nature, it was very cold in LA, cold and rainy in LA the first couple of days that we were there. And the Grand Californian has fireplaces and lots of very warm places to sit. So we went there to a place called the Hearthstone Bar, where we met several bartenders that we were chatting with. And we learned a secret that we will now share with you.
What is that secret?
For the 100th anniversary, and Florida, you'll be getting this in April, the cast members all have a 100th anniversary pin, their name tags have the 100th anniversary logo on it. And where you would normally see the cast members' hometown, they're invited to pick their favorite Disney character.
However, this comes with a caveat.
Yes.
There's a specific list of characters that can be on the name tags.
Mm-hmm. Which has some really deep cuts. We saw some character names that we had to scratch our head about. Wait, who is that exactly? Mm-hmm. Abby Watts. But the other thing that we learned is that if you failed to pick a character,
you got Mickey Mouse.
So it became a fun little game over the few days that we were there when we would see a cast member with Mickey Mouse going, "Hey, you didn't pick, did you?" And the number of them that go, "Oh no, I picked Bambi, but for some reason I ended up with Mickey Mouse." It's like, yeah, you didn't fill that form out right, did you?
That sounds an awful lot like you're blaming the cast member.
I'm just saying, whatever. So if you run into a cast member that has Mickey Mouse on their
don't
name
be a
tag,
dick to them.
You can be very polite about it, but you could ask them. It's like, who is your favorite character? I mean, maybe they chose Mickey.
Right.
That could be. All the
lots
Mickeys
of
we
people
saw,
do like Mickey Mouse.
Yes, but of all the cast members we saw that said Mickey Mouse, none of them copped to the fact that, I love Mickey. I picked that one on purpose. Anyway, so that was kind of it. We did see one thing at the Grand Californian that just kind of out of the corner of my eye, I saw a cast member that had a pin lanyard on, and this would be repeated over the days at Disney California Adventure as well as Disneyland. There were numerous cast members that had lanyards, pin trading lanyards on. And when we finally found a moment to talk to one of them, they said that they were given the option, like that they could if they wanted
voluntary.
to. It's voluntary. If they wanted to wear their own lanyard, they could. It was unclear whether that was their own personal pins or whether Disney is still supplying them with pins. But certainly, for those of us who care about pin trading, that was a huge, great sign that maybe pin trading is back at Disneyland, at least. Maybe.
We'll have to take a look when we're at the parks this weekend and coming up to see if cast members at Walt Disney World are doing the same.
Yeah, we will keep you apprised. All right, so our first day at Downtown Disney, we had a lovely little day. The next day we were all ready to go. Because of the weather, it looked as though it was going to be rainy all day long on the next day.
Yes.
So we switched from going to Disneyland to going to Disney California Adventure because we wanted to do the smaller park. If we were going to get washed out, we wanted to do. And it was also very important for us to see the Magic Happens parade. And we knew that if it was raining at 3:00, they would not do the parade. So we did DCA the first day. Now, we ended up being very lucky with the weather. The weather worked in our favor. We got rained on a couple of times, but for the most part.
There was one point during the day where we actually needed to pull out our umbrellas and use them, and that lasted maybe 15, 20 minutes.
Right. The worst was it started pouring down rain right before World of Color, and but ended right before the show started. So it was like the 10 minutes prior to World of Color, it was pouring down rain, and we're like, oh, what's going to happen? But then that cleared up for us. So
yes, if I had to watch World of Color through the space in between people's umbrellas, I would have been very unhappy, but I didn't, so it's fine.
Okay, so we tried to prioritize I know I'm having a hard time talking today.
Words are hard.
It was my birthday. I guess now that I'm older, I can't talk anymore. We tried to prioritize things that we don't have here. So we favored attractions that were significantly different than what we have in Florida, or attractions that we just plain don't have in Florida. So a good example would be the Haunted Mansion, which we'll talk about on our Disneyland day. Yes, we have a Haunted Mansion here, but it's different, right? The Pirates over there is different. So it's like, in those cases, we ran the same, same. And of course, yes, we rode some of the same rides. We did Midway Mania regardless.
Right.
Of the fact, yeah. But regardless, but the other thing that we were there for at Disney California Adventure was the Food and Wine Festival. And I got to tell you, Epcot Food and Wine Festivals can be hit or miss. There are some great dishes.
And then there are some dishes that are absolutely terrible, looking at you, Italy Pavilion, at every single festival.
There was nothing we had at the California Adventure Food and Wine Festival that was bad. Everything was great.
There was one dish that was okay.
It was okay.
But it wasn't bad.
Yeah, it was the tiramisu churro. It wasn't horrible. It just, everything else had been so good that it was kind of like, on its own, this would have been great, but compared to everything else, it would have been bad. So, the food, what did you think of the Food and Wine Festival?
I really liked the DCA Food and Wine Festival, and I feel like they need to do a version of the next thing on the list here at our Food and Wine Festival.
Okay, well, tell them what that is.
So DCA and, several other theme park festivals have a pass that you can get. You pay a set amount to get various tabs that can be used for select food and beverage items. It's not all food items, and it's no alcoholic beverages. If you want the alcohol, you're going to pay the premium. But I think it was $60?
Yeah, $60, and you got eight.
You got 8
tickets.
tabs that can be used for food or beverage.
Yeah.
So $120 for the two of us.
Yeah, for 16 dishes at the Food and Wine, because we didn't do the beverages. I think they mentioned it being 6 entrees and 2 drinks, but there was nothing on the tabs.
Right. The tabs don't specify what you like. This is only for food.
The other really nice thing that they do in their Food and Wine Festival is they allow you to order everything all at once. So we went up to the cashier, I guess. You can go to multiple cashiers. Any cashier at the Food and Wine Festival you can go up to, and you can order multiple. It doesn't have to be at that booth. It can be at any other booth. And you just hold on to your receipt, and then when you get to the booth where your food is, you just go to the pickup line and get your food there. So that was nice, because I know at Epcot, a lot of times the lines
just get crazy long
to buy things, when you could be stepping up and handing the little cast member the ticket in there.
It makes the ordering process a little bit convoluted, because they have to go through and find the booth and find the item. But but
not too much.
Other than that, definitely they need to do that here as well.
I feel like it's a matter of scale, right? It's like
There's
Disney
20
California
billion booths at the Epcot Food and Wine Festival.
Well, just the number of people, right? Epcot is 4 times the size of Disney California Adventure, and has 4 times the guests. So it would be a bigger
undertaking.
deal, a bigger undertaking. Maybe there'd be more fraud. Like people, this is pretty easy to spoof a receipt. Right?
No one's going to go through the trouble of coming up with a fake receipt.
People smuggle vodka onto the cruise ships inside of water bottles because they don't want to pay for drinks. It's like
yes, but all that is pouring some vodka into it. You're wrong.
a printer, an inkjet printer. I can make a fake receipt. Anyway, moving along, the Food and Wine Festival, I thought was great.
Yes.
I was very glad that we went out and did it. Without putting you on the spot here, was there one dish that just like stood out above the rest that you would suggest? If you could only eat one dish at the Food and Wine Festival, eat blank.
So there was an Impossible
Euro
flatbread kind of thing with spicy chickpeas. And I mean, I have said this before. I cannot tell that Impossible meat is not real meat, and it just the way the flavors combined was really, really good. Yeah,
I would agree with that. It was like a flatbread pita, but with gyro and souvlaki sauce or whatever. And then
first you must spill it.
It's very good. No, it's not. It's not souvlaki. Is something else.
Tzatziki.
There we go. All right. Well, you took mine. So if I were to suggest one other thing that you would get, there was a Mickey Mouse Snickers macaroon that was shaped like a Mickey head. It was not small.
It was quite big.
But the filling of the macaroon was the nougat that you would get in a Snickers with caramel on it, and then it was covered in chocolate and peanuts. And even though I'm not a huge chocolate fan, it was delicious. So yeah, Snickers.
If he's recommending something that's chocolate, you know it's really good because he hates chocolate.
Okay, so now let's talk about the attractions that we did that we don't have here in Florida. So we rode Soarin' over California.
Which, yes, we have Soarin' here. It may or may not have ever been Soarin' over California here. I don't know.
I think when it first opened here, it was Soarin' over California.
But
Yes.
I had never seen Soarin' over California. I don't need to see Soarin' over California again.
Why?
That film needs replaced badly. It's old and it's starting to get grainy, and nothing in that film probably looks like it does anymore. It was fine, but I was just startled by how much that film is showing its age.
Yeah, it was cool. Yeah, I'd seen it before, but I feel like there were more smells in the Soarin' over California than there are in Soarin', the regular one.
Soarin' around the world.
Soarin' around the world. But but not too much. Like maybe there are a couple extra cents that were in the California. So, it wasn't like Soarin' around the world has none.
Right.
The other thing is that Soarin' around the world likes to do transitions between your things.
Soarin' over California, it's just
clip,
just quick cuts to the next thing. Also, in true Soarin' fashion, whereas our version has the crooked Eiffel Tower, this version has the crooked Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah. And that depends on where you are
In the
inside
theater.
the building. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, I like Soarin' over California. It was a nice way to start the day. We did not use a Genie Plus, a lightning lane on that because the wait time was 10 minutes.
Yeah,
So
that was literally the first thing we did when we got it. That's not true. I stood in the line at Starbucks because apparently I'm basic.
But while you stood in line at Starbucks, it allowed
got
me
your picture taken
to go
with
get
Pluto.
my birthday picture taken with Pluto over at Carthay Circle. All right, so then we headed over to the Avengers Campus where we saw the spider. Now we did use a lightning lane for this, where we did the web slinger ride, the Spider-Man web slinger ride. Before we got to that ride, we saw one of the Spider-Man shows. I don't know if it's the same show every time,
Right.
But Spider-Man testing out his equipment, and the one that you've all seen on the YouTube with the robotic mannequin that flies through the air.
He did not crash through the.
Did not last.
Yeah.
Did not crash. We saw the gamma radiation tree as we walked past there. If you don't know what that is, look it up. And then we went and rode Web Slinger. I thought it was a really cute ride. I thought it was a very fun ride. What did you think of Web Slinger?
Web Slingers is cute. It is, to be fair, just an extension of Midway Mania, an upgrade to Midway Mania.
Yes.
And it's also an arm workout.
Oh, it is, yeah.
And we rode Web Slingers not once, but twice.
Twice, yeah.
So
Yeah.
I do feel that scoring is a little wonky because in Midway Mania, you're only competing if you want to with the person in the car next to you.
Yeah. But
I guess-
at the end, you see what the top score in the car is.
Right,
Yeah.
but you don't see all four scores at once. You're
So,
you're competing for targets with three other people as opposed to one other person. So sometimes it feels like it's harder to get points.
So this little 80-year-old woman smoked us, and we were basically had to sit there and look at her, go, yeah. She looked at us. She's like, yeah, smoked you. She beat us badly. But then we learned for the second one, right? So we learned, you can use both hands. I didn't realize that the first time. You can use both hands. And secondly, there's different colored spiders that you want to aim for.
And they're worth different amounts of points.
Yeah. Anyway, and I'm sure if you were to find it on the internet, there's probably some
guide for how to score the max score or something.
We also we're no longer going in order here, but just we're taking it by the land. We're in the Avengers Campus. We saw the Taskmaster show. So this is Black Panther and
Black Widow.
Trying to prevent Taskmaster from stealing the vibranium from the Quinjet up on top of the Avengers building.
The soon to be eventually maybe e-ticket attraction.
And it was cool. It was a lot of the action was hard to see. It was kind of behind walls, like you could kind of see their heads popping over, but there were a lot of effects built into this show. So as Taskmaster shot arrows would shoot up into the, on the railing as if he had shot them, right? I think at one point when Black Panther was running his claws along the surface. There were sparks coming out, those kind of things. It was a cute little show.
It was cute, but definitely there's some sightline issues there. Yeah. And we all know theme park fans love to complain about those.
But it was they were short. They were very short.
Yeah.
Little skits that were happening there. We went to Mission Breakout. We used a lightning lane for that, so we did not go through the queue and see Figment.
In his box, trapped. Someone let him out, please.
And I've ridden Mission Breakout before.
I walked him through the queue because I like my lunch where it is.
But it was fun. Mission Breakout.
You had a complaint though about Mission Breakout.
What was my complaint? I forget.
That unlike the Tower of Terror, it just kind of happens.
Well, that's the same for the one in Paris also. So the Tower of Terror in Florida is the only one that goes up, over, and down. Everything else just goes up and down. So there's a whole separate ride system to the one in Florida that makes it go up, and then you go through. You actually your car leaves the shaft and goes through a section of show before it ends up into the fall zone. That is not so much on their version of Tower of Terror, which is no longer Tower of Terror and Mission Breakout. All right, the other things that we hit that we do not have here: Mike and Sully's
Monsters Inc. to the rescue. It's a cute little dark ride.
It's a
very much for kids,
but it's so cute.
Yes.
And it's Monstropolis. Is that the name of the town there? It's the transit authority, and you're in a cab. This takes place at the point in the film where they have discovered Boo, and so the entire town is on alert because there's a human child running around Monstropolis and causing mayhem. So that was really cute. We rode the Incredicoaster.
Daniel rode the Incredicoaster.
Now, on the Incredicoaster, because he didn't ride with me, I was just a party of one. And so, as you would expect, another, a single rider came up to ride with me. And it was this 12-year-old kid named Dante, and it was his birthday as well. We both had our birthday buttons on. And he was super scared because he'd never ridden it before. And I was telling him, it's going to be cool. You're going to love it. It's great. I have an on-ride photo of him. He definitely enjoyed it. Afterwards, he thought it was the greatest ride ever. So, happy birthday, Dante. Not that you're watching, but, happy birthday nonetheless. Let's see. We went on the Pixar Pal Around.
Not in a swinging car because I like my lunch where it is.
So we went in the non-swinging car. That was when it was starting to get really cold.
Yeah.
And we were obviously way above the theme park, getting even colder on that one. And then we kind of took a break. We had done everything that we wanted to do at, we're not telling you some things that we rode because we have them here. So we did Midway Mania, we did Aerial. Did we do anything else there?
I don't think so.
So we took a break. We headed over to the Grand Californian, back to the Hearthstone Bar.
We spent a lot of time at the Hearthstone Lounge.
Just those 2 days. The third day we didn't go to Hearthstone Lounge. We went to Napa Rose. But we went back to the Grand California and went to the Hearthstone Bar, had some cocktails and chatted with folks, and then went back for World of Color later. Over at Disney California Adventure. That was when the rain started to happen, but it cleared up and we saw World of Color. Not my favorite World of Color show, but still, better than what we've tried to do here in Florida with water projections and fountains.
Right. You can actually see things on California's water projection screens because it's not so humid.
I feel like there's there's some kind of happy compromise of that World of Color technology that could be used at Animal Kingdom in that big lagoon to do some kind of nighttime show that doesn't suck. So whether we have that or not. So that was our day at Disney California Adventure. So let's talk about, we bought Genie Plus for the trip.
Right.
So that was an extra. Do you feel that the Genie Plus added to the day or not?
Yes. I definitely feel like, especially at DCA, we got our value out of it. A lot of the rides had not super long waits, but longer than I would have wanted to wait in a standby line in.
Yeah, the Incredicoaster was like an hour and something.
Right.
We were able to
we did do standby for our second Web Slingers. That was that was approaching my limit.
Yeah, that was like a 45-minute wait, and that was annoying. But yeah, so I think even if we hadn't gotten lightning lanes for some of the rides, and I don't even remember which rides. I know we had lightning lane for World of Color, virtual queue for World of Color, but we did a lightning lane for Web. We did a lightning lane for Mission Breakout, Incredicoaster,
Mike and Sully's,
Midway Mania, I think, and Mike and Sully's. But even without those, the fact that they give you a photo pass included with your Genie Plus, I think makes it worth the $20 right there.
They also include that with Genie Plus at Disney World.
Oh, well then there you go. That's worth it to me, because while you were in the hour-long Starbucks line to get your burnt coffee, I was over getting a lovely birthday photo made with Pluto, and that was worth the $20 right there. It was to get I had my Pluto sweatshirt on and my birthday button.
Genie Plus only includes attraction photos here.
Yes.
Does it include all photos?
No. At Disneyland, it includes all photos, yes.
Okay. Yeah. It only includes on-ride photos here.
Right. Like all the PhotoPass stuff that we did was included with our Genie Plus. That's why we got the pictures. Anyway, so that was Disney California Adventure. Wow. How long have we been going here? Wow. We've been going for quite a while. Okay. So the next day we headed over to Disneyland. And again, we hit up the attractions that were different than what we have here. This was an eye-opener for me. Just, I had forgotten how small Disneyland is. Mm-hmm. When I think, as a Floridian, when I think I've got to make it from Frontierland to the backside of Tomorrowland, I think, oh, that's a 10-minute walk.
Right.
That's going to be 10 minutes, barring traffic jams of crowds, right?
People with strollers.
Or stopping at a stand or
stopping in the middle of the walkway.
Yeah. So, but in California, you can get from the far side of Frontierland to the far side of Tomorrowland in about 3 minutes. It's a very short walk comparatively to what we have in Florida. But that being said, we went to we took the approach of the left-handed approach. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
I mean, I'm left-handed, but I don't know what that means.
One of those things they teach you in psychology. Most people are right-handed in the United States, so when given a choice between going right or left, they will tend to go to the right. So in the morning, they tend to go to the right off the hub as opposed to going to left off the hub. So we went to the left off the hub over to Frontierland in New Orleans Square. So we were able to do a walk-on on Haunted Mansion. It was like a 5-minute wait to walk on there. We turned them around and did Pirates, which was another walk-on. And then, we went back to Main Street and did Mr. Lincoln, which was a walk-on. A lot of things like that we did. We had lightning lanes, but they were later in the day. So we had done lightning lanes for Indiana Jones. Mm-hmm. I had one for Space Mountain. We did one for Roger Rabbit. And did we do another lightning lane? I think we did.
But it went down.
I don't remember. We did something. But we did not use lightning lane as much at Disneyland as we had at Disney California.
Also has a lot of attractions that just don't use lightning lane.
Yeah, it was weird because at one point our Indiana Jones went down. We never got to ride it. And so they gave us a
multi-experience pass.
But the rides they listed as being available didn't have a lightning lane. Like Peter Pan's Flight doesn't have a lightning lane, but it was on the list that we could have gone to. I don't know. It was really, really weird. All right. So we rode Haunted Mansion, Pirates. We did Mr. Lincoln. We did Rise of the Resistance over there.
When we wanted to, but did not do Indiana Jones.
We walked through the queue, but we did not make the ride. Roger Rabbit we did, and Pinocchio's Daring Adventure.
Journey.
Daring Journey. And I think that's it on the rides that we did over at Disneyland.
Yes.
So let's talk about the ones that were different, primarily the Haunted Mansion and Pirates. Compared to our Haunted Mansion, what did you think of the Haunted Mansion?
I feel like the California Haunted Mansion is shorter.
Yes.
I do like that there's a little bit of extra walk time through the queue with the library and
the portrait gallery.
The portrait gallery are parts of the queue.
Right. Which in Florida, they're part of the ride. So they're the first things you go through in the ride.
I also did not necessarily like that the stretching room is an actual elevator.
You didn't like it?
I didn't like it.
Why?
Because I feel like that makes it too obvious that the portraits aren't actually stretching, whereas I feel like our version keeps the illusion better.
So
that's just because you can feel the room moving. You can feel that it is an actual elevator.
If you didn't know it was an elevator, would you feel the same way?
I don't know. You'd have to ask 2017 me that.
Like, yeah, you wrote it in 2017. It was the Halloween overlay.
Yes, but I don't remember 2017.
All right. I feel like if I had to choose between the two, I'll take the Florida Haunted Mansion. That's just a little bit better for me.
It was nice seeing the Hatbox Ghost, although we will be getting him here.
Yeah,
so
true. And then we rode Pirates. Now, Pirates is a completely different story. I feel like I will take California's Pirates all day, every day.
California's Pirates is better. There's an additional, at least what feels like 5 minutes of story.
Yeah.
It's a more complete story. I realize that because Disney World caters to a largely international audience, that maybe some of the finer points were left out for reasons I don't know. But yes, Walt Disney World Pirates has nothing on Disneyland Pirates, and that's a fact.
Yes. Mr. Lincoln?
Cute. Very much a precursor to both the American Adventure and the Hall of Presidents. Mm-hmm. They use songs from...
do they, or does the American Adventure use songs from Mr. Lincoln?
I feel like those. I don't. So when we had lunch with Dave, he said they reused those songs.
Yeah, I feel like Golden Dream at the end of Mr. Lincoln definitely was made for American Adventure.
Yes, and then they just shoved it on the end of Mr. Lincoln.
I feel like the Two Brothers song could very well have originated with Mr. Lincoln, and they used it in American Adventure because it deals with the Civil War. It deals with one more blue and one more gray, which is very apropos to Lincoln. So I thought it was great. For those of you who don't know, have never seen it, the narrator is Paul Frees, a.k.a. the Ghost Host.
It was a little jarring to hear him narrating because I expected him to break out into the Haunted Mansion spiel at some point.
And if the ride goes down, he's like, playful spooks have interrupted our show.
Except that's not Paul Frees.
That's true. Anyway, Mr. Lincoln was cool. Again, it was a walk-on. Indiana Jones has just recently been refurbed. I was looking forward to seeing it, but it was not to be.
It went down earlier in the day and then came back up and then went back down when we got into the room right next to where you load. Yeah. And then I don't know. I don't think it ever came back up.
What did you think of Roger Rabbit? You were not a fan of the spinning cab.
I would much like no. It was cute, but I feel like it and Pinocchio and Mr. Toad, all those rides, Snow White, they're all essentially the same.
Yeah, they're dark rides. Yeah. They're and Pinocchio, then you've already said you feel it. I feel like that was the most confusing telling of Pinocchio. Like I couldn't have, if I didn't know the story, I couldn't have followed a story through what they took me through there. Okay. And so we got to Main Street to watch the parade.
Yes.
And as true Floridians, we were confused by the parade route because in Florida, our parades start in Frontierland and they end up on Main Street. At least for daytime parades. I believe nighttime parades are reverse of that, or certain parades are reverse of that. Anyway, as we're walking back from Frontierland to make it to the hub, we're not seeing anything blocked off. So we go up to a helpful group of cast members to ask them what their parade route is. They tell us it starts at the Small World over near Toontown and then comes up Main Street. So through the hub and up Main Street. So we ask, where's a good spot to watch? They direct us over to an area that, if you watch right there, you'll be right at the action. And as they're saying that, this one lovely cast member whose name I do not know, I kept trying to see if I would see her again after the parade so that I could send her a cast compliment. But she said, or you can come sit on my bench. And so she put us in the reserve section on the hub on a bench, front row, where we got to watch Magic Happens, sitting on a lovely bench in the shade on Main Street. That was great.
And Magic Happens is a great parade.
Yes.
I started to compare it to Festival of Fantasy, and he pointed out it's not really fair. They're two different shows.
Two totally different.
Very, very good.
Yeah. I enjoyed it thoroughly. I thought it was a great parade. Pluto ignored me again, like he always does, but that's
no matter where we are for a cavalcade or a parade, he's always on the wrong side of the street for Pluto, or he says hi to Pluto and Pluto ignores him.
Yes. Or
I don't know why Pluto's his favorite character when all Pluto does is ignore him, but
that's true. Because he's a good boy and he deserves it. Anyway, so then we took a break. We went back over to the Grand Californian. However, this time, yes, we had learned ahead of time that getting a Napa Rose dinner reservation is very difficult to do. However, we were told through a friend of our travel agent,
Sean's cast member friend,
had said, well, they're doing about 50-50 right now. So they're doing 50% reservations and 50% walk up. So we made it a point, because we're on the East Coast, we're 3 hours behind anyway. So, eating dinner at 4:30 was not crazy, because that's 7:30 to us.
It wasn't 4:30, it was 5:30.
Whatever. Eating dinner at 5:30 is not crazy either. So we went back over to the Grand Californian. I'm pretty sure it was 4:30.
No, it was 5:30, because that's when they start.
Pretty sure it was 4:30.
You're wrong.
Anyway, so we went back over to the Grand Californian. We went over to the Napa Rose, and we said, we don't have a reservation. Is there any way you can get us in? He's checking. For those of you who are not watching the video right now, he's checking to see what time the Napa Rose actually opens. He's going to find out it's 4:30, and then he's going to have an excuse as to why it wasn't 4:30. Anyway, so we go back over there.
5:30.
Yeah, but that's Central Time. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It was my birthday. I was right. Anyway, now you forgot. Go ahead. What were we doing?
We were eating dinner. No, we got a seat at the bar at Napa Rose.
I'll just have a drink.
Okay. And Napa Rose, the ambiance gives me almost Animal Kingdom Lodge vibes, minus the giant pictures of California vineyards. But some of the woodwork and the accents gave me Animal Kingdom Lodge vibes. The food at Napa Rose, every single thing was good.
Yes, it was very delicious. When we went in, we asked for if we could be seated. They said, well, we can seat you. It'll be a small wait, but yes, we can seat you. Or you can go to the bar and eat immediately. It's just the two of us. So we went and ate at the bar, which was very nice. Same menu, I presume. There was a prefix menu and an a la carte menu.
Which for Disney restaurants is becoming an increasingly rare thing.
The a la carte?
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, everything was great at Napa Rose. That's probably the best Disney restaurant that I've eaten at in a while. I'm thinking. But yes, I
better than Citrico's?
I would say it's on par with Citrico's, yeah.
Yeah,
definitely.
Just judging by price, I mean, both those meals were about the same price.
Yeah.
So,
it wasn't cheap, but it was a birthday meal, so it's allowed. But it was very good. I what did I have? I had
steak.
Yeah, I had the filet and the something salad, some kind of. It had a funky
Smiling
name.
Tiger.
Yeah, Smiling Tiger salad, which is really, really good.
I had the scallop singular, but it was served with all sorts of accompaniments that made it very delicious. Nice. I also had the steak. We just prepare ours slightly differently.
Okay, so then we headed back over to Disneyland to watch the nighttime show.
Except we didn't.
Actually, I think, to be honest, we actually went back to the hotel because the nighttime show wasn't until
we watched
9:30.
Survivor, and I took a nap.
And then we went back to the Kingdom, or back to Disneyland to watch the nighttime show, whose name escapes me.
Wondrous Journeys.
Wondrous Journeys. And unfortunately, the winds were blowing towards I-5, and so they
made the last minute call literally at like 8:59.
Yeah, that they will not be doing pyrotechnics for the show. And so we decided instead of watching a portion of the show with projectors and music, that we would wait and watch it some other time. Who knows when, but I just didn't.
And we've had a couple friends tell us, "Oh, it's great even without the pyrotechnics." But I either want the whole show or nothing.
Yeah. So we did not watch the nighttime show at Disneyland. So do you feel that the Genie Plus was a value for us at Disneyland?
No.
Okay. If Indiana hadn't gone down, if we had stayed instead of going back to the hotel and I had ridden Space Mountain, which I had my Fast Pass for or my Lightning Lane for, we did do Photo Pass at Disneyland in front of the castle. So I feel like, it's a toss up, but
yeah, I didn't think it was worth it.
Disneyland had there were not a lot of long queues. The longest queue that we waited in was Rise, and that was simply because we had time to kill.
Right.
Because we could walk on the Pirates and Haunted Mansion, our morning was very open. And we had something to do at 1:40 in the afternoon, which was Indiana Jones. It's like, well, we need to
kill some time.
We need to kill some time.
And Rise had a fairly lengthy wait. So
yes, it was a 55-minute wait at Rise, which ended up being more like 60 minutes. But Rise, great ride. I don't think there's really any difference between California and Florida.
I don't think there's a difference at all.
The pre-show was in B mode because BB-8 wasn't out, but I think that happens in Florida too if BB-8 is down. So so Genie Plus, your mileage may vary. I feel like it was worth the money just for the Photo Pass alone.
Right.
However, your mileage may vary. And that is it for our 2 days that we did in the trip. We did another day with a friend of ours who took us on a tour through downtown LA, through some sites that had inspired things at Disney. So we went to the Biltmore Hotel, which was the inspiration clearly for the Hollywood Tower Hotel, especially the lobby. When you walk in, it's like, oh, that's the roof from the Hollywood Tower Hotel.
Yep.
And there's some of the decor around there. And then different areas of downtown LA. There's one street that's supposed to be the street that they modeled Hollywood Boulevard after. There's some the tunnel that you go through leaving out of downtown is the thing that they modeled the tunnel on Grant Avenue at Hollywood Studios after going into Galaxy's Edge. Just really cool things like that were really neat to see. And it ended up with him taking us to dinner at the Tam O'Shanter, which is a restaurant that Walt and the Imagineers used to eat at all the time. And there's a very specific table in that restaurant, table 31, which is the table that they always sat at. And we got to sit at that table. So there's a couple of carvings in the table of illustrations of some dinosaurs that Walt had sketched for Fantasia that never got used in Fantasia. They were actually never used in the film, but they're carved in that table. And there's also a nice little plaque there that
this is
calls
Walt's
out the
table,
table.
essentially.
Yeah, Walt's table. The food is really good. It's very, I don't know what it's, very American. Prime rib, mashed potatoes, and cream stuff. Cream corn,
meat and potatoes.
Yeah. And they had some fancy drinks, but very bourbon heavy on their drinks. So it was, very, I don't know, 1950s Americana, right? Meat, bourbon, meat, potatoes, and bourbon. And, but it was very good. The food was very good. It was really cool to sit at that table and to, see all the stuff around there. There's certain pictures and stuff inside that restaurant that are signed by Walt and everything. So I thought it was really cool. So thank you very much, Jonathan, for taking us there.
Yes.
We do appreciate it. Okay. Now, that is our very lengthy recap of our trip to Disneyland and California Adventure. If you feel that there's something that we should have done that we, why didn't you do blah, let us know in the comments. If you're watching on YouTube, you can leave a comment right in our video in our little comment section. If you're listening on our podcast, you can send us comments. Our email address is don'tdodisney@gmail.com. Let us know. Also, if you want to follow us on TikTok, you can leave us comments there. WDW Aristocrats over on TikTok. We really should think about changing our name. It's very hard to spell. Anyway, let's get to the final wrap up that we have here, which is our heroes and villains of the week. We started with heroes last time, so let's start with our villains this time. Then you may start.
My villain are the high winds that canceled the pyrotechnics for Wondrous Journeys.
Yes.
I realize this doesn't happen all the time, but it happens enough. You can't really control the weather, despite what people on the internet might think.
Yeah.
So it almost makes me wonder if Disneyland needs to rethink doing fireworks shows at Disneyland Park.
The fireworks will get canceled occasionally in Florida due to high winds, like very high winds.
Right.
Certainly, rain and winds will keep Tinkerbell from flying out of the castle here in Florida. But for the most part, fireworks here happen all the time in Florida. In the rain, in the wind, doesn't happen. The way Disneyland is situated in downtown Anaheim, the I-5 goes right past it. And if the winds are blowing towards the I-5, they're not allowed to put fireworks up in the air because the debris from the fireworks will hit the interstate. And that's
bad.
That's bad. So yeah, the fireworks in Disneyland get canceled a lot more than would happen here in Florida. So it was sad that we missed it, but it's California. We can go back to California.
Yes.
It's not that big of a deal.
And we might when Rogers the Musical opens.
That's true. Yeah. Rogers the Musical was announced, but we didn't get to see it. All right. So that was your villain of the week. My villain of the week was the security at both Disneyland, Downtown Disney, in California Adventure. I guess that's all three.
The security at the Esplanade.
Yeah.
Essentially.
In some parts, we went to Universal Studios on Friday, but their security was the same way. Those metal detectors will pick up, like the little screws in your eyeglasses. I had to take off my belt, which I've never ever had to do in Florida. But
you had to. I didn't.
Yeah, it was weird.
They're weirdly calibrated and they're really sensitive, and the security lines were long,
very long. It was. I marvel all the time, and I always say this: you don't realize how good Disney World is at doing things until you go somewhere else and are confronted with the opposite, right? The security lines were insane at in the Esplanade, going into the Esplanade or going into Universal Studios. They were all just very badly handled. Even the ticket booths getting into Disney California the first day, you show them your ticket and they have to not only scan it, but then they have to take a photo of you and, so it holds up the line. Things are so much more streamlined in Florida, and take a cue. It's your own company. Take a cue from Florida. Make it better. So that was my villain. Was the Disneyland security. It was just difficult, time consuming. Didn't care for it. Who was your hero?
My hero of the week was our friend and travel agent Sean Knight of Magic Family Vacations, who helped us book this trip and gave us the tips on Napa Rose. And honestly, I don't think we could have done it as cheaply or as amazingly without him. So thank you very much, Sean.
Yes, thank you, Sean. You can check him out. His podcast is Sean Ranks the Mouse. Is that still around?
I believe so.
We just now we just let him know that we don't regularly listen. I'm so sorry, Sean. But thank you. Nonetheless, my hero was the parade lady whose cast member whose name I do not know, who allowed us to sit inside the bench area for the Magic Happens parade. That was truly an amazing thing. It was fun.
That was magic happening.
It was. That was the moment. That's what we came for. Anyway, as I said before, if we do have a video version of this podcast on Spotify and on YouTube. So if you're listening to audio only and you want to see our lovely faces, or not so lovely faces, but faces nonetheless, you may do so on our video version. If you're watching the video version, you're like, hey, I'd like to listen to the rest of this in my car because you guys have been going on for a while. And
this is a long episode.
Then there's an audio only version of this podcast available anywhere that fine podcasts are served. So there you go. That being said, all that is left for me to do is to remind you to please, please, please don't do Disney
without us.